Hello, and good evening. It is good to see you all again. I hope you're doing well. I hope things in your life are going well. And I hope that you are doing what you want to do. And living the way you want to live. Tonight, I'm not going to do anything particularly organized. I'm just going to grab one of the objects I've got sitting around, and I thought I would have a little play with them. Try to extract some sort of a sound out of them. Our first two objects, really, as they come in a pair. Well, you can get them separately, but they're commonly paired. Two little objects that have brought me a fair amount of joy in my life, since acquiring them anyway. The oddly named and inaptly named, well, the Magni Dac and Amp stack. By the company known as, if we can get it in focus, well, if you can sort of see it anyway. The autofocus on this camera is terribly unreliable. It's by the company Schiit. I think they've got a little story posted on their website as to how that name came to be. Something to do with a man's wife constantly bickering about him working on creating these products such as these, and always referring to it as, well, for example, I'm working on my shit. So that's how he named the company behind it, I suppose. Shit. I don't know the exact specifications anymore. When I was looking into getting a sound card or some sort of headphone Dac and Amp solution for my computer and, well, other knickknacks that have USB audio outputs, such as PlayStation 3 and my PlayStation 4. I'm sure the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One is capable of audio out from USB. So you'd get the audio into the DAC. And you'd simply wire it up to the headphone amp with these handy little short cables they supply. Excuse me. I quite like the sound of these too. I don't even think the autofocus is working. I've kind of installed something called Magic Lantern on my camera. Kind of gives you some overlays and some useful tools for video work on Canon DSLR cameras. Ever since putting it on, I've had some issues here and there, but the positives vastly outweigh the negatives. So I'll just give you a quick little overview of how it looks like when the whole thing's together, and because that sets a reason to sort of fiddle with the sounds. You just never get the right hole. As I was saying, when I was first looking into buying a solution, I was very keen on the exact specifications for no particular reason besides, I don't know, hubris. I wanted to feel like, or at least pretend like I knew what I was reading and what I was getting into. End of the day, though, I just went by people's reviews and other people's opinions on it, and it turned out a lot of people liked the product. Got it upside down. Terrible, terrible me. The cable's twisted then. Never mind. They're still the right channels, I assure you. Where the cable's not twisted on the back, it looks straight, but for the time being it looks like that. But that's fine, no problem there. See if this makes any sound. Huh. Clicky. That's about it. So I'm not really sure what I'm doing tonight. Forgive me if I kind of just go off on weird tangents. I'm tired, and this has somewhat become my routine for sleeping now. Just unplug those now, because the fact that they're sort of twisted disturbs me slightly. And I'm just noticing now for the first time that I'm quite enjoying the sound of whatever it is I'm using as a tablecloth. It's actually a Duna cover I found. Oh yeah. I'm just gonna spend a good few minutes scratching this. Maybe I left manual focus turned on. Sorry if it gets a bit shaky. I'm just gonna twist the little focuser thing and see if it makes any effect. Nope. Well, I probably had some sort of a weird setting, but it looks like it's focusing here. Cameras. It's a learning experience. I'm also trying to figure out how best to get my voice captured by these microphones. I can go into whispering, or I can go into a soft sort of a speak, or at least I think it's soft. For all you ASMR listeners out there, please do comment of whether you prefer whispering, such as this, or if you prefer a bit of a soft-spoken voice instead. Keeping in mind, my voice changes often. my nighttime voice. Very different from my daytime voice. My favorite voice is during the mornings. It's a bit weird, but whenever my throat's backed up with phlegm, it just makes a rather nice voice. At least I think so. Whenever my work has me do very early morning starts, I may wake up especially early and do my recordings then instead. Maybe we'll see what happens with that. For the time being, though, I'm just going to scratch this cover and mumble to myself. And just let my brain wander. Oh, cursed hangnails. What will I do with you? I think this light might be a little bit harsh. It is most likely too harsh. I did manage to get myself a viewfinder, so I can actually see what my camera's doing now. So what I'm going to do is grab this little thing. Let's see if we can adjust the light. Well, I can make it darker. I don't know if it makes it less harsh or not. But perhaps it's easier on your eyes. It's a lot easier on my eyes, I'll give you that. Topic of Magic Lantern, you may be wondering what my pros were to outweigh the rather unusual cons. If I haven't already mentioned, Magic Lantern is sort of custom firmware for most Canon cameras out there. It can give you all sorts of options, such as adjusting the frame rate way outside the scope of what the camera was marketed as doing. For example, the camera can't do 1080p at 60 frame rate, 60 frames per second. However, with this, you can force it to do it. And for the most part, it does it perfectly fine. Except now and then it crashes. I don't know if that's a fault of the hardware or if that's a fault of the custom firmware. Perhaps a bit of both. I don't know. What I actually use that control for, though, is setting the frame rate incredibly low. Say 0.2 frames per second. And I plug it into a little DC adapter, and suddenly, voila, my camera can now do time-lapse. This camera is not marketed as doing so, and without Magic Lantern, it has no function in order to do so. It just can't do it. Not because the hardware simply can't do it, but because the firmware they put on it doesn't allow it to do it. So it's a bit cheeky. They kind of cripple their own hardware with their crap software. So you can buy a much more expensive camera with the exact same sensor installed in it, but its software has a bunch of extra features, unlocking its potential. Also does a bunch of different things. This camera, for some reason or another, can only take videos, can only record videos for a max of 30 minutes. It's not very long. And that's why you may notice I need to do some sort of blending every 30 minutes in my videos. Every 30 minutes you'll see a little bit of a dissolve or a fade. Or I might just take a little impromptu break or stay very still for that 30-minute mark, so that I can easily stitch them together. Now with this firmware, it still only does 30 minutes at a time, but it will automatically begin recording again within 0.4 seconds. I've timed it down to 0.44 seconds. That helps with my audio syncing. So I found that kind of neat. So now I don't have to sort of get up, stop whatever I'm doing, and press the record button again, which is a hassle. It just does it on its own. Now I'm not really sure why I can only take 30-minute length recordings. I thought that maybe it had something to do with the memory card being formatted as FAT32, so that the videos can only be 4 gigabytes in size each file, because that's the limitation of FAT32. But the camera already splits the videos, even 30-minute videos. So it does like a 4 gig file, and then it does a 2 gig file for that entire duration of 30 minutes. So it can already split files on its own. So it's not limited by the format of the SD card. I think it's just another strange limitation that they've imposed. They don't want their cameras being used as video cameras. I'm still getting used to this little guy. I haven't had him very long. So my videos may look a little bit out of focus or incredibly amateurish, because I absolutely am an amateur. But I'm loving every moment of it. Now I got horribly distracted. Back to the good shit. Yeah, man. You gonna focus? You're gonna focus. You're not gonna focus, are you? I promise I'll get that fixed eventually. I'm positive my other videos focus better. Oh. I like that. Kind of reminds me of a little tin of cookies or something. Like my grandma's or something. Something you'd see at like on a coffee table laid out for whenever she had guests, such as me or my brothers. Just a tin sitting in the middle of a coffee table, filled with miscellaneous things. Cookies, stuck together lollies, melted chocolates, not candy cane. But always somewhere you'd find a neatly wrapped bit of liqueur fudge. I don't really eat that stuff anymore, but I got some fond memories. a kid, I liked liqueur chocolates. I don't drink now. Well, I've never really drank. I did experiment with tequila at one stage, though. I read that fermented agave tequila is an excellent anti-inflammatory. So when I was beginning with running, and I often overdid it because, well, I found something I loved, and who doesn't get a little bit overzealous when they discover something they love? And I had some inflammation now and then, and I despise taking drugs of any sort. So, well, pharmaceutical drugs anyway. I'm not an anti-vaxxer or anything. It's just I try to avoid pharmacists and pills and doctors as much as I can. No particular reason. I guess I'm a naturalist. Even though those pills are derived from something natural. Probably gone through quite a lot of processing, but everything in those little pills eventually did come from something natural. Some sort of a plant, herb, sap of some sort of a plant, tree, who knows? But yeah, I try to state things in close to nature as possible. For example, I won't really eat food unless it looks like it was actually food at some stage. So, chocolates, lollies, that sort of things, no, I don't consider them food. It doesn't look like something I could find and pick and eat. So, I digress. Back to the tequila. I was drinking that as a anti-inflammatory. Now, I don't know if it worked or not. The inflammation did go down, and the pain did subside. Whether or not that was from the anti-inflammatory effect, or that perhaps I was just getting drunk, which then numbed the pain. I like to believe it's a bit of both. Because that was the only really time I actually drank, any sort of alcohol. So, I did that in complete solitude. I just hid a little cheap bottle of tequila away and drank some of it. And just sort of observed the effects on me. Didn't get too drunk, just got kind of warm-headed. After that bottle was finished, though, and that bottle took way over a month to get through. So because I didn't get inflammation that often, so I didn't really have any sort of justifiable reason to drink it. Didn't mind the taste, but I don't know. I think if it tastes like alcohol, that sort of burn in the back of the throat. Don't like it. Not to mention I always got very thirsty afterwards. I'm already paranoid with my fluid intake and fluid outtake, electrolyte balances, and so forth. Not paranoid. Just when I got into running, I kind of researched a little bit, and then I became conscientious of such things. Nearing that 30-minute mark now, actually. Not the video, because I did a bunch of stuff-ups at the beginning, but I don't stop recording. You You won't notice it in post. Heck, you might not even notice what I'm talking about now. I might just remove that in post. I won't. You know, I'm positive I said at the beginning that I wouldn't be speaking much. But I believe I've been mumbling on the entire time. 30 minutes now. Well, looks like it's recording again. On cue. Beautiful. You can't believe how happy I am about that. Until I actually got a sort of viewfinder to look at so I could see what I'm recording, and it would show the time lapsing. I was so paranoid that this feature of Magic Lantern would not always work. And I could never see the little blinking light showing that it's recording because they rather unintuitively put it behind the camera. So I could never actually see. So every 30 minutes I would stop everything, stand up, go behind the camera, and find out, oh, it is still recording. Good job, camera. But now thanks to the viewfinder, I can with absolute confidence know that it's still recording. It's the little things in life, huh? Little happinesses. That's not a nice word to say to a microphone. Happinesses. Horrible. S doesn't work too well. Unless you put a very hard K on the end of it. Too many people do that, I find. And for good reason. Sounds nice. Oh, I'll just indulge myself. Can hear a lot of mouth sounds. I'm not set up for close mouth sounds just yet. I'm trying to look for a standing table or workbench so that I can sort of do some standing videos, so I can actually get around to you and get a bit closer. Because at the moment I have to lean forward quite far to get close. I suppose I don't even need to. I think if I just spoke softly instead of whispering, I don't really need to. Different sound. This one's got a bit of ventilation in it. Hope you don't have that weird phobia where you don't like holes. Let's just cover those up. Or, you know, bring them to the light. Honestly, I'm thinking my highlight of the evening is this Duna cover. Silly, I know.